It's time now to bring in our panel to talk about this week's top stories. Joining us online this week, Dr. Laura Wilson, Abdul Hakim Shabazz, Jennifer Wagner, and Mike Murphy. Let's start with you, Indy political science professor Laura Wilson. Laura, Attorney General Curtis Hill was critical of Mayor Joe Hogsett this week for limiting church services to 25 people. A lot of layers to that, obviously, in terms of the debate itself, the role mayors play, and the AG's suspension that takes effect tomorrow.
There's a lot going on there. I think in part that's a great deflection from Curtis Hill. There's been a lot of questions with the 30-day suspension, what that means in terms of his job. Of course, he's running for re-election there too. With Mayor Joe Hogsett, he is taking a more precautionary approach relative to the guidelines set out by the governor. But for local government, he has the right to do that. And of course, Marion County has been a hotbed in terms of these coronavirus cases. And so that's something he has to consider there too. I think there's a lot wrapped into this single issue.
And the governor saying he will let local governments supersede the state when they want to be more stringent. Laura, thanks. We're also joined by Abdul Hakim Shabazz, the editor and publisher of IndyPolitics.org. Hello to you, Abdul.
Always good to be here, my friend.
Yeah, a couple of pretty big stories at the State House this week. You had the Curtis Hill ruling and also this controversy over State Rep Jim Lucas and his Facebook post, bringing a lot of reaction at the state level.
Yes, obviously the Curtis Hill thing is a lot of people paying attention to see what happens next. Does the AG have to step down, give up that office? Does he stay? I read both briefs that were submitted to the Supreme Court this week. Both make some convincing arguments. And then once again, Jim Lucas, who I've known Jim for quite a while, and to say Jim occasionally steps in every once in a while would be putting it mildly, to say the least. But him also saying that, hey, some folks may have found what he did to be offensive. He's not going to apologize for it and keep going straight.
Jennifer Wagner joins us as well, the former communications director for the Indiana Democrats. Jennifer, hello. The leading Democrat in the AG race, Jonathan Weinzapfel, has actually outraised the Republican candidates. Can Democrats actually mount a serious bid for Attorney General this year?
Well, yeah, Dan, I think they can. I think we have a really strong candidate. I think Jonathan, obviously sat out a little bit, really made a strategic decision to get involved in this race. And the Republican side of things is a complete mess. Curtis Hill notwithstanding, it looks like, Todd Rokita, I know Abdul's favorite favorite elected official, is looking at jumping in there. I mean, you've got all these people. It's a convention race, and I think there's a real opportunity for Democrats to show that we can lead and we can win a statewide office.
Well, what about Todd Rokita? I want to get former Republican lawmaker Mike Murphy in here. What are your thoughts on this race?
Well, first of all, I think Todd, certainly will walk into any race, even against Weinzapfel, with the best name ID statewide. There's no doubt about that. He had a mixed congressional record, very good on conservative, anti-national debt issues, very cautious not to vote for budgets that spent more money than they brought in, which I was always glad to see from him. But he was not without controversy. I mean, when his first few weeks in Congress, he stood on the steps of the U.S. Capitol and told a CNN anchor that she was beautiful, but she had to be honest too. And so he has a way. Somebody mentioned earlier people stepping in it. Todd has a way of stepping in it, but he does work hard. I guarantee he'll have great name ID. It's just a matter of whether he wants to try for another office.
More than ever, guys, Abdul and Laura, I'll turn back to you on this as well. We just don't know what's going to happen next, right? I mean, more broadly speaking, in terms of what happens with this coronavirus, how it impacts this election year, and some of these moving pieces in Indiana politics. I mean, we simply don't know how a lot of this is going to play out.
It's really impossible to say. And I think you can look at previous elections. Certainly we've had national pandemics before, but not recently, not in a time where we've been paying attention to politics and we've been measuring things in the same kind of way. There's a lot of great historical comparisons to 1918, but that was over 100 years ago. I think there's so much here that really is on a daily, a weekly basis, dynamics that are changing, people's opinions and perceptions being changed by those. And it really does make it a truly unpredictable world at the moment.
Quickly hear from each of the rest of you. What are we not paying attention to enough here?
I think one of the things that we really need to focus on is what does the Supreme Court say on Monday? Like I said, both sides have submitted their briefs. What do they say about whether Curtis Hill can stay in office after he's suspended?
Jennifer, Mike, what else should we be focusing on here in the midst of so many things happening all at once?
I just think, politically, in a lot of ways, the world is going on. There's plenty of negative campaign ads going out there and mail pieces being dropped. But, I think we have to pay very close attention in these next few weeks as we reopen our economy, reopen our state, to make sure that we're all safe and healthy. That's the most important thing to me.
Mike, you get the last word.
I think the most important thing we have to look at right now is the loss of revenue in the state coffers in the month of April. Down $1 billion. A lot of that is obviously deferred income taxes, but certainly credibly at least a couple $100 million in lost revenue from lost economic activity. That's going to hurt state programs across the board. So not only does Holcomb have to balance the virus and getting the economy going, but he also has to figure out what to do with state programs that were funded by money that's no longer there.
And going back to the city of Indianapolis, I mean, that's all part of the big debate at the city level, too. Some restaurants, some business owners who really do want to be open now, while the city continues to say we need to wait just a little while longer.
Absolutely. We have, people who cut hair, people, I've talked to some people, minority restaurant owners. They're moving across 96th Street or across into Hancock County to open up space. I mean, if you have to feed your family, which everybody does, you'll do whatever it takes, no matter what a mayor or anybody else says.
It is something we will talk about on our coronavirus town hall coming up Wednesday night on Fox 59 and CBS 4, 7 p.m. as we talk with mayors from around the state and other elected officials. We hope you join us then. Mike, Abdul, Jennifer, Laura, thank you all so much. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you guys soon. We appreciate it. Stick around. We'll be right back with much more after this.